Well, leadership is a word we hear a lot about. Some of you may be aspiring leaders. Some of you may already be leaders. Some of you may have even been leaders for a very long time. You know, in my 20-year career, I've received a lot of leadership tips. But there was one pivotal moment when someone that I looked up to asked me a very simple question. How do you want to be remembered as a leader? As I was reflecting on this, I realised that there are many parallels between my leadership journey and climbing a mountain. In fact, I was fortunate enough to have the privilege of climbing the Annapurnas way back in 1998. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Annapurnas are a mountain range in the Himalayas, and it's a beautiful trek. There are many parallels between climbing the Annapurnas and my career journey. Both of them are long journeys. Both of them involve hard work. Lots can go wrong. Your attitude really matters, and it's a team sport. My first big learning has been be led as I lead. It was day 2 of our Annapurna climb, and our group was stopping by for a little break. And an elderly village lady, she beckoned me in. And I was curious. I'd always wanted to know what an authentic Nepalese home looked like, so I followed her in. And there in front of me were 4 beautiful young kids. Now, I was told before I came that Nepalese kids love foreigners and they love presents that foreigners bring. So what I brought was a stash of bright coloured pens. And they were intrigued. We interacted, couldn't speak English, it was all fine. And then time got away, and I thought, oh, it'll be fine. Got a good sense of direction, I'll find my way, it's all cool. And then time got by. And I looked at my watch and I thought, oh no, time's really getting by. So I quickly said goodbye, raced out, and then I panicked. I freaked out. I thought, where are they? There's no GPS. There's no map. There's no vox boxes. No one speaks English. So I dashed in the direction I thought they were. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sherpa Mike, and I yelled to Sherpa Mike. And Sherpa Mike came to my rescue. And in his broken English, he said to me, Michelle, if you get lost, you die. You see, when you climb a mountain, you need to be led. And the Sherpas, they're the local guides. They're the experts who can help you to get to your destination safe and sound. That's what I've learned in my career, that if I'm not led, I can easily get lost. Now, I started my career in medicine, and when I graduated, I started work as an intern in a major teaching hospital. And I had every plan to specialise. But little did I know what twists and turns my career was going to take. In fact, it took a totally different path when I made a big switch into management consulting. And at that time, it seemed like a better fit for me. I was thrown in the deep end. My first project, IT, cost cutting for a major airline. And I had to ditch the green hospital overalls for a fancy suit. And I had to rock up to work at level 61 of Governor Phillip Tower rather than the emergency department of a major teaching hospital. I just felt so lost. Talk about being thrown in the deep end. But I was really fortunate to have 2 mentors at the time. These were 2 senior partners who took me under their wing and then helped me. They helped me to settle in. They taught me how to be a good consultant. They gave me lots of opportunities. And then they championed me as I moved through the organisation. So these mentors were like the Sherpas. They're the local experts. They know the environment and they can help you to navigate it. I've learned that as I've carried on in my career journey, these mentors have become even more important because they're the ones that can give me the guidance and the support that I need to help me climb up that mountain. So over time, they taught me how to be a leader, how to lead clients, how to lead teams, and eventually how to lead projects. And I've learned that leadership is a lifelong journey that requires an active willingness to be led as I lead. Now, my second big learning has been stick to integrity. When you climb the Annapurnas, the higher up you get, the harder it gets. The air gets thinner. And sometimes it can feel like it's really hard to breathe. In fact, day 4 of our Annapurna climb, and right in front of us was a fast, scary river. And to get across, 2 rickety wooden bridges. Now, I can't balance to save myself. And it brought back these dreadful memories of my days in gymnastics. Now, I dreaded gymnastics, but the apparatus that I dreaded most were the beams. So I got up to the beams, wobble, wobble, and then boom, onto the mat below me. Now, that was fine way back then. It was a soft, fluffy mat. But if I fell in this time, I'd die. And if I was lucky enough to be washed up on the edge of the bank, I'd hit my head and end up being helicoptered to a Kathmandu hospital. So I thought, okay, psych myself up, heart jumping in my throat, and just legs like jelly. In fact, a bit like how I'm feeling tonight, actually. And I managed to get across, and I just felt so proud of myself. But 2 kilometres later, another fast, scary river, and then another fast, scary river the day after. In fact, the higher we climbed, the more dangers, the more obstacles. That's how I found it's been like in my career. The more I've progressed, I've realised there are more dangers and more obstacles, more agendas to deal with, more difficult stakeholders, more politics to navigate. As my career's progressed, I've learnt that the more that there's at stake, whether that be power, money, or accountability, it's natural for people to pursue their own interests, often at the expense of others. I've learnt that when the pressure's on, I need to stick with integrity. So what is integrity? Well, it's simply the how. It's doing the right thing the right way. And for me, the how is more important than what I achieve. Now, so why is integrity so important to me? Well, not only does it impact my brand and reputation, but ultimately, it's about relationships. And relationships matter. I'd imagine that the corner office would be a pretty lonely place on your own. Now, it's easy to say, stick with integrity when the pressure's on, but it's actually really hard to do. And when you stick to integrity, you've got to be willing to count the cost, because when we take a stand, we need to take the consequences. You know, in a previous role, I was leading a pretty high-profile project, and one of my peers was going to look after my role while I was away for a month. Her name was Jess. And while I was away, there was going to be one final presentation to the 2 pretty senior stakeholders that were going to be determining the future of our project. Now, before I left, I was a bit worried. I thought, how's this presentation going to go? If it goes well, will Jess steal my glory? Will she undermine me and will she try and take over? Well, the presentation did go well. And Jess openly gave me the credit. And she handed the project lead back to me. But not only that, I started a piece of research which Jess completed. And she put me down as the main author, not her. See, through this, I got a lot of kudos. I was the one that got ahead. You see, in this example, it was Jess that showed leadership. She was the one who stuck to integrity when the pressure was on. And I later asked her, Jess, why did you act so honourably? And she simply said, because I value our relationship. You see, Jess's behaviour earned my trust and my respect. She's a woman of honour, and that's what I remember most about her. And her behaviour made a lasting impact on me. Now, it's easy to say when you're on the receiving end. It's easy when you're the beneficiary. But it's much harder when it's the reverse. And I'll be the first to admit that despite my best attempts, I don't always get it right. I do let people down from time to time. But I try and remember that when the pressure's on, stick to integrity for the sake of the relationship and to make a positive, lasting impact. Now, my third big learning has been be the wizard behind the curtain. Now, it's day 8 of our Annapurna climb, and we're near the top. And that night, we were told that we were going to camp right on the edge of a cliff. Now I'm scared of heights. I mean, it's great trying to climb a mountain when you can't balance, you get lost easily, and you're scared of heights. But we were promised a beautiful sunrise the next morning, so I was up for it. So that night, before we went to bed, Sherpa Sam quietly comes to me, and in his broken English looking down, he says to me, "Michelle, if you fall, you die." You see, Sherpa Sam, since day 2, had been keeping an eye on me. Since I'd got lost, he was the one right at the back of the pack, carrying my backpack, always about 20 paces behind. And he was so quiet that most of the time, I didn't even realise he was there. Every now and then, when I wandered off, he'd just beckon me and he'd say, "This way." But he was ever so gentle and ever so quiet. You see, Sherpa Sam was the one working behind the scenes to keep me out of trouble. Sherpa Sam was the wizard behind the curtain, helping me to keep me alive so that I can get to the top successfully, alive and well. See, I used to think that leadership was about leading from the forefront, calling the shots. But I've learned that that's not always the best way to lead. In my previous role, we were given the lofty goal of trying to transform a business within a very short space of time and with a very small team. And one of my team members, his name was Jack. Jack was ambitious. Jack was competent. Jack had skills and capabilities that I didn't have. He was creative, something that I'm not. So I decided to invest a lot of time in Jack. I transferred knowledge to him. I prepped him for the big workshops, let him lead the big workshops, and then let him run the big stakeholder meetings. I tried to give Jack the limelight. Now, of course, I was there to back him up if things went wrong. I was the one who was trying to be the wizard behind the curtain, helping to orchestrate his success in front. Now, one morning I went to my boss feeling pretty good about myself, and I wanted to tell her what I'd been doing. I expected her to praise me. But she said, "Michelle, why are you investing so much time in Jack? He's too junior. He's just not worth it. And what's more, you need to get the glory." So I felt pretty flattened. But in the end, giving Jack the space to shine enabled us to achieve a lot more and a lot faster than if he hadn't been. In fact, in the end, Jack was offered 2 roles. Both of them were promotions for him, and one of them was from my boss. You see, why would you be the wizard behind the curtain when you can be the star of the show right in front? After all, it's risky. It's good for Jack. It's good for the team. Maybe good for me, but it could come at a cost. Jack could get ahead, and I could be left behind. Well, in the end, it comes back down to my values and being true to my values. It gives me great satisfaction to help someone to be the best that they can and to reach their full potential. And it's very liberating when it's not all about me. You see, last month, Jack gave me a call. And he said, "Michelle, I just want to thank you. Because there are not many people that would do this, but you gave me the space to shine. And I've only just realised it now that I've had a few more bosses." And that made my day, but I'm still learning how to do this because it's not easy giving someone else the limelight. It's just natural to want to grab the glory. But I've learned that it really is worth investing in helping someone to be successful. It really is worth investing in trying to be the wizard behind the curtain to help orchestrate someone's success in front for the sake of a positive, lasting relationship. Now, my 4th big learning has been know my limitations. Climbing a mountain, and in particular climbing the Annapurnas, it's a pretty humbling experience. I so often felt small and vulnerable when I looked out at that vast mountain range. In fact, looking up at some of those spectacular ranges, I realised that there were some peaks that we would never reach. That's how it's been like in my career. Leadership is a humbling journey. You know, there's so much that I'm not in control of. I get pulled in different directions. I make lots of mistakes along the way. I'm as good as my team. And so often I don't get the outcomes that I want. And sometimes I just wonder whether I'll have enough energy to last the distance. I've learned that an attitude of humility is key because it helps me to get the help that I need and to invest in building my team. Now, 2 of these learnings that I've shared tonight are really hard to do. I mean, why would you act in someone's best interests when the pressure's on? Well, in the end, it comes back down to my values. And my values come down to my faith as a Christian. Now, I recognise that some of you here tonight may have a faith position. Some of you may not. And that's fine, regardless. It's great that you're here. For me, my values come from the God of the universe. And I trust in the God of the universe, who knows what's best for me. And he's the one that I can trust because he acts in my best interests. And I know that he backs in my best interests because he sacrificed his son for me. In the end, it's the God of the universe that shows me the how of the leadership, which peak to aim for. And he's the one that helps me to last the distance in my career. So in summary, it's the God of the Bible that helps me to look at my 4 key points tonight. Be led as I lead. Stick to integrity. Be the wizard behind the curtain. Know my limitations. I fast forward to the end of my career and I go back to the question that I posed at the beginning. How do I want to be remembered as a leader? I would simply want people to say she was a selfless, humble leader. Enjoy your journey.